Welcome to Irrational, the podcast where we debate ideas, not people. This is our inaugural episode, and we're going to get right into it, talking about hockey fights. Should they be forever in the sport, or should they be forbidden? I'm excited to bring to you a couple of guests, the kinesiologist on my left, and then we have a hockey player who's dabbled in the pro circles, played in many leagues, and we are going to unpack this idea. Of course, Anders thinks there is a place for fighting in the sport, and our kinesiologist, Mark Boulay, feels that maybe it's time to put the gloves back on and leave them back on. This episode is sponsored by New Bean Nation. New Bean Nation is a coffee box subscription that you can receive monthly. I encourage you to visit New Bean Nation and learn all about the products that they have available. They release 3 new coffees each month in a subscription box, and so you never have to run out of coffee. That's newbeannation.ca. So, guys, compared to other major professional sports, it seems like this fighting thing is a big deal. So I think we're going to have a great episode. I'm excited to hear how you guys contribute to this. But why don't we start off by letting our audience get to know you a little bit? You can look right at that camera over there. And Mark, I'll start with you. Why don't you introduce them to you, tell them a little bit about your sports background and what brings you to the table today?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm not a kinesiologist, but studied in
Yes.
kinesiology.
Sorry, yeah.
I do not work in the trade, although I dabbled in it in my younger years, skied professionally for a number of years, have a background in martial arts. So I'm not completely ignorant to fighting. I love it as a sport. I just find that there's a place for it, and on the ice is not one of those places.
Anders, how about you? I know you've played some hockey. What has gotten you to our table today?
Well, the invite, the people, it's always fun to be around you guys. Growing up in the sport of hockey since the age of 2 on skates, but do I believe hockey has its place there? Sure. But at the right time, at the right moments, in the right circumstances. So should be interesting.
So, Anders, how many years did you play hockey?
But like I said, I've been on the ice since the age of 2. So I'm going to go 40, 43 at least. Yeah,
And
43 years. Yeah.
who are some of the teams you played for?
Drafted major junior by the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles. My dad wanted me to go the prep school private route, so I came back home to Campbellton. Did the junior A thing, went to Nepean, Ontario, did a little bit of Penticton in BC. Came back home every time because I was studying part-time while I was playing junior hockey.
Yeah.
So I'd come back to the Campbellton Tigers, or initially the Rest English River Rats.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to do that. Was supposed to go to university route, and then I had the attitude of hockey and school, so we'll beat that out. And I ended up playing senior hockey till a couple of years ago. Hence the Marauders shirt that I got on right now.
I noticed you were sporting the Dalhousie Marauder hoodie, I guess. I was going to say uniform, but it's more of a hoodie.
Yeah.
Mark, I know you did some work with Rip Curl. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh. That was back again. This was a repping the brand in Canada and mostly Eastern Canada. So the sports culture, beach culture / lifestyle of riding boards sideways and just time on the beach and again surfing, skateboarding, which are adrenaline driven sport junkie type sports where injuries are part of the sport. And when you get into it, you know that you can get hurt. So again, I'm not completely opposed to risk taking in sports. It's just again, and I do not want to get too deeply into this. You guys know my position, but when I get on my skates, and I'm not a very good hockey player, I do not want to think that I'm going to get hit on the side of the head or I'm going to have to get into a fight.
Yeah.
For me, that's not part of the sport.
So I think it's incumbent upon me to ask where you repped Rip Curl. Can you surf?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
The
yeah.
whole family surfs. It was always part of my life. I skateboard to this day. I still skateboard. On
Wow.
top of my 300 and some odd pounds, I could still get on a board and rip up the pavement.
All right. Well, guys, let's get into this. It's time to take the gloves off, so to speak, if you might excuse the pun. Compared to other major professional sports, like I was saying, fighting in hockey has a very unique place. It's been uniquely tied to the sport. Why do you think the sport has tolerated this for so long, especially as athletes have been getting faster, stronger, and more technically skilled? Anders, go ahead.
Well, I think it's more from an ancestral standpoint. I think we've grown up, and if you go back centuries or millennials ago, the barbaricness of it was there, the entertainment side of it was there, and I think it's been sustained for years. Fortunately, hockey still has it, maybe opposed to what Mark's thinking on this one. All giggles aside, I think the big thing here is that it's tolerated because when things get out of hand, and out of hand meaning something wasn't done following the rules, I guess somebody feels the necessity to go stick up for themselves for one, depending if there's been stick work in the hockey case, or if somebody's been done wrong, I guess the person will go stick up for them. Hence the enforcer or the fighter rule, or the fighter guy on that team.
Mark, do you have anything you want to add to that? Do you feel like it's something that kind of just got passed down from the barbarianism of years ago, or is there something more unique about hockey and fighting?
I think it's just pure entertainment.
Yeah.
The fans are expecting it. The it's cultured, or it's part of hockey's DNA.
Yeah.
Does it need to be there? I don't think so. Or let's have leagues where it's allowed, if that's what we're looking for. For me, it comes down to minor hockey and the culture. If I send my kid out onto a rink, onto ice, and he's scared of getting whacked, like, it just takes away from the kid's development. As vaccinated adults, if you want to jump on the ice and you're part of a fighting league, and that's what you're doing when on that Saturday night, then great, go for it. You know what you're getting yourself into. Again, it's just, if we top down to minor league hockey, I don't think there's any place for fighting when it comes to kids hockey.
So, Anders, from your experience, you've been in multiple leagues now.
Uh-huh.
You've played for years, like you said, literally since you were two. How are you taught to understand the purpose of fighting in the game? Like, was it framed as a protection idea, or was it about intimidation? Is it about shifting momentums, strengthening deeper identity of a team, just being tough? What's your understanding of the purpose of fighting?
Well, I'm gonna go right at the root of it all, and we're gonna make this one a little funny, but not. So my dad, when he played, was a fighter, and he was known to drop the gloves. He won a fight all the time. So if I went back to that, and then how I had to had to interpret it based on what I've learned growing up, I had to fight because if I wanted to gain extra room on the ice, I had to fight to either protect myself for one, if I was done dirty, like I mentioned earlier, or from a respect standpoint, right? So I believe, yeah, I just go right back to that to today. All the hockey I've seen, it's got to happen because if not, things get out of hand.
Okay. So, Mark, from a kinesiology kind of background, you studied in that martial arts viewpoint, how does fighting affect the psychological or perhaps the physiological factors that control our aggression, that make us want to rise up? How do these things become such a force in this sport of hockey, especially?
Well, if we look at fighting as a whole, in martial arts, we're taught to control our temper. We're taught to control our fears. We're taught to control our aggression. You're not allowed fighting outside the dojo. You're not allowed fighting at school. If so, you'll get kicked out of your karate school.
Mm.
There's a place and a time for everything. Now, in hockey, what I see a lot of times, yes, there's that enforcer, but it's a bunch of people that lose their temper and drop the gloves, and they're often solving their aggressions or their frustrations off the ice, on the ice, because that's the only place they're allowed, and they get away with fighting. So it's not. Yes, sometimes it is controlled and sometimes it is enforcement, but a lot of times it's just losing your temper, and you were done wrong, so let's drop the gloves and fix whatever
Yeah.
is fixable.
This is interesting. From my standpoint, where, like I mentioned previously, my dad had taught me that, you're going to have to fight as you grew up playing the game, but I had no desire to fight. and my temper was controlled. And recently, when I was, we'll call it dating somebody, I was told that I had a temper, and I was like, if I have a temper, we need to go way back here because I'm on the ice. I've been doing this since a young age, and I have not lost it yet. I was even tapped on the shoulder at times at the major junior and the junior A level. Anders, can you go fight this guy? And I had to declick to go do it because I was protecting somebody else. But if it came to myself personally, I had no desire to fight because I wanted to keep my head on my shoulders and not use my fist and start hammering somebody's helmet.
Yeah.
So in that position, hey, I have an agreement with Mark, and that's why I wanted to kind of chime in there. But at the end of the day, I can understand where he's coming from and where we're going with this. Yeah.
So we might have to have a whole other episode to discuss your dating.
Listen, I had to chime in. I won't do it anymore. My apologies.
Okay. So, Anders, many teams historically have actually brought on a person. They would call them the enforcer. Their purpose was to make sure that the other team stayed in line, kept things clean, stayed away from their stars. Does this tradition show that hockey has accepted fighting as part of its fabric?
Listen, I'd like to say no, but in the recent weeks or recent months, you see it on Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night where guys are dropping the gloves from the first shift. Am I a fan of that? No. Is there a message to be sent there? I'm not sure. Is it controlled? Is it organized? You compare the NHL and then you go back to senior hockey if we're going to go from different levels. And obviously, we're not comparing apples to oranges here, but like we're senior, it's organized, and they'll go pick up an enforcer to go get those people. And I was here locally yesterday, actually, and a local fire chief asked me, says, "You still playing hockey, Anders?" I said, "It's funny you ask. It was just away on a trip, blah, blah, blah." Fast forward the conversation. He says, "I miss the days when we'd go watch the fights and the rinks were full in Dalhousie and St. Arthur and Hamilton, and your Dennis Andersons were playing because people were going there for the fights." But we're not seeing that anymore. The game has evolved. And if you look, since we're talking, or I had the Marauders jersey on, the game has evolved. So it's speed, it's quick. And now the fights are being penalized, extendedly because they're trying to remove it. Is it going to work? I still think it has its place. So it's dangerous to say you shouldn't do it. It's also dangerous to not have it because if you tie it into university hockey, stick work gets involved and then it gets out of hand. Then if a guy fights, he's suspended. So they don't fight and the game gets out of control stick work wise. So I think there's a lot to be talked about. We can have a second, third, and fourth episode if you want. That's up to Mark and what kind of time he has on his ends. I'll try and tie some flexibility in there somewhere.
Sounds good. Mark, he kind of brings up that in recent years we're seeing a shift in the game, or perhaps a decline in this whole idea of enforcer. Do you feel like this is a genuine change, or is this just are they shifting the way toughness is expressed in the sport?
I think there is a shift in the way toughness is. Like the hits and the checking's gotten a lot harder and rougher. A lot more injuries even from a checking standpoint than from a fighting standpoint. Now, less than 0.5% of concussions are due to fighting. A lot of those times it's not actually the hits, but the falling to the ice. The fights aren't stopped until somebody falls a lot of the time, where that's where the concussion happens. Where checking, like 5% of checking ends up as a concussion. And this is at a professional level. If we bring that down to amateur sports, it's even higher because they don't have the physique. They're not training full time.
Not taught how to take a check.
Not taught how to take a check. So a lot of the concussions are, and again, from the hit and the falling to the ice. So yes, I think there has been a shift. The game's a lot quicker. The players are a lot bigger. There's a 30 to 40 pound difference between a player in this modern age compared to the 80s. Speed, holy geez, there's a huge difference in speed.
Well, I know, like, my personal observation over the years of going to hockey games, watching hockey on television, whether it's international hockey or it's a women's hockey, it's the NHL, whatever it is, it seems to me that the stretchers come out almost always for someone who was checked, almost never for someone who got into a fight. I'm wondering, do you think there's a chance that maybe fighting is being put out there as the big bully that we should chase when actually we need to be getting tougher, harder on checking, or should checking be removed from the game?
I think the game's evolved. If we go back to then and now, and I don't want to blame Gary Bettman, but we'll throw his name out there since we're on a podcast. But the reality is the game has sped up so much and evolved so much, and the players are bigger, they're faster, and whatever, what may be. You throw in an obstruction rule, you can't slow the guy down like you used to do 20, 25 years ago. So what's going to happen? Your force is coming in, your mass time, your acceleration, and you're taking the guy, and it could be at different levels, but that rule itself, you're no longer, whether it's like the guys, the girls, or any level at all, you're not allowed to slow that person down anymore. So those 3 steps, are they really 6, 7, 8 steps with 3 good strides at the end? Is there a charging there, even though they don't leave their feet? It's up for debate, but I mean, at the end of the day, the game's evolved so much. I mean, I think that it's could be just as dangerous. And like Mark said, less than 1% are fights, but it's when people fall. They lose control after being wailing away for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, whatever it may be. And what happens? The arm, the hand, then the skates, and somebody falls over, and the referee's around, the linesmen are around. And yeah, sorry.
No, that's great.
I almost had impulse on there, to go further with that one, but we'll leave it there.
Mark, how about you? Are we pointing at the wrong culprit here?
Yes and no. I still think fighting does not have its place in hockey, because we don't need that enforcer anymore. We don't need that fighting on the ice anymore. From a entertainment standpoint, hey, I love it. Like, I love being in the stands at a Marauders game or a Seniors game where we're expecting that. I wouldn't enjoy it if we had 8 fights a game, but fight every 2, 3 games. Hey, that's fine. I think it's part of the sport. I don't. Again, depending on the league, I think there's no place for fighting in amateur hockey or let's call it kids leagues. I think that should be banned and it should be highly penalized. But if you go to a seniors games, who's in the stands and who's looking up to those players on the ice duking it out? So I think it's up to the parents to decide and it's up to the fans to decide, because if the fans don't show up because there's fighting, then fighting will disappear. But I think that's what the fans, unfortunately, that's what the fans are looking for.
So for you, like the idea that more stretchers are coming out for someone who's been injured versus coming out for fighting, that doesn't give fighting an increased place in the sport.
No.
It's just because they're still falling. Is that what it is for you?
Yeah. And it's going to be hard to get rid of checking. There's going to be contact. Get rid of checking and the sport's going to become even faster. And there's going to be room for other types of injuries. I think it's
Then you'll have other players coming in though.
Yeah.
If I may, because then you'll be comparing it to an industrial or commercial league. So this is why we're here. So I'm 50-50 with Mark. I'm with on the minor hockey. I agree completely. There's no need for fighting at that age. Like the parents watching the kids, you don't need to see a brawl break out. You don't need to see kids throwing blockers or stick work, wherever it may be. But I have to intervene, because if I don't, I'm not doing my job here. So I'm not going to fight Mark here because I like him. But I'm going to say this, that if you remove the fighting and you get in an instance in a game where the guy chops at a guy or goes after your best player, the enforcers can't follow the game as much as they used to. So at a senior level, you're getting guys that might have done taekwondo or fought on the streets. They're coming in to fight to give that entertainment a place that it has. But can these guys hold their balance? Can these guys actually fight? Or is that for the crowds? Where areas, if in your heat of the moment, I get checked or a slew foot, you get pissed off. I guess it comes down to emotional control. I agree with Mark on that one, because I wasn't the guy to fight people. My tolerance was too high. But at the end of the day, you want to turn around and punch somebody in the mouth, and you might as well take your gloves off and do it. So that's why I come in bearing the 50-50, and I think that's where I lie with the whole thing.
So the question that kind of pops into my brain here is, we're talking about minor hockey definitely shouldn't have this. It shouldn't be in those younger sports. But like, if I look at minor hockey today, the kids are they've got the celly after the goal, like the big guys, they want to have the equipment that the big guys are wearing. They want to do the warm-ups the same way. Are we asking too much to say, look, you can have our cellies, you can have our ice surface, you can have our equipment, you can have our gear, but don't act like us?
Well, I think that's like preaching to the choir. As adults, I mean, and people that are parents, they say they don't say you got to do as I do, not do as I say. And I think then that's where there's a fine line to be drawn. How do we explain it? Or does the message have to be like watching wrestling on WWE, where it's fake, but you got to know the difference? Is it somebody's due diligence to say, hey, you can fight, but once you get the banner, because then you want to gain some respect on the ice. You want to have that 3-4 feet extra around you. You get into midget, high school, or whatever, and so on and such. Or do you say, hey, You're in the heat of the moment, it's going to happen. The guy did me dirty. I'm going to fight him. Or somebody's going to go after you because you were the better player on the team.
So if it's allowed, are you going to teach it?
And well, I mean, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
teach
Well,
it. We
I'm
teach it.
loud,
In
I'm
the,
teachable,
we teach
Mark.
it. We teach it in karate.
Yeah.
Like we're taught to fight. We're taught how to
Absolutely.
take
Yeah,
hits, and we're taught how to give them. Would we get to that point if it would be allowed at Bantam?
I think I'll give you that 1.5 on that one. Just because they're taught discipline. And then if you derive from that and then you fight at hockey, then you're not respecting the quota, because that's where that you're doing is totally discipline, emotional control. Can we compare the two? I don't know. Are we comparing apples to apples? Is it a orange to apple? Or like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of debate. We can keep this going all night if you want. I got a couple hours, Mark, if you want. But at the end of the day, I think he has a point, and I'm completely agreeing to him. There is discipline, because I played the sport and I wanted to play the game. I didn't like fighting. But had I done it the way it was supposed to be done, because I had that strength, I would have had extra ice around me, and I would have gotten the stick behind the legs, or the chop, behind the back, or the cross check here. You know what I mean? So for me, this podcast is interesting because I hate fighting, never loved it, never, and that's why I rather keep my head on my shoulders. But at the end of the day, I can see there's a place for it. Because then, if not, what happens? And it goes back to the university point from a while ago. The stick work remains, the dirtiness remains. So do you have to teach the guy a lesson? Or do you go to discipline? Like, the guy's got to go to the box and the game's got to be controlled to refereeing? Then that's a whole nother debate there. That's why they have 4 referees now.
I know.
2 refs, 2 linesmen versus the 3 back in the day.
Well, maybe if they put 2 more striped guys out there, it'll all go better, huh?
Hey, no, I'm throwing ideas around here, and I think that I'm completely in agreement with Mark. I do agree that at a certain level, it might not have its place.
Yeah.
Or is it going to phase out? I don't know. Can you remove it completely? I can't see it, because there's a certain line that people won't cross if they know that there's a guy there that's going to go take care of them because they get out of line.
Let it be a ref. That little whack of the guy that.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
We definitely don't want to encourage refs getting hurt.
No. But they get yelled at. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and then we're talking about kids in minor hockey. We're encouraging the kids, but then we're not setting the example, because the parents at the base of it all, I think, is the foundation. And I'm not trying to point fingers, but kids are trying to referee today. And who's yelling at them from the stands? It's not other kids yelling at the kids.
Right.
It's the parents cursing and swearing. And parents at any level are taught to take a parenting course about respect. So does it come down to respect? Or does it come down to, I've done you dirty, I'm going to get you back? And then we go into ego vulnerability. But do we really want to go there today? I don't know. I could have fun with you guys. I enjoy your guys' presence. But at the end of the day, I think, opinion is an opinion. And I see Mark on the side of the road. I'm not going to go throw a punch at him, because I don't throw punches, but we're going to have a conversation with her regardless if we don't have the same opinion.
But
I respect what he's saying.
But Anders, and not to cut you off, but
Please do,
but
Robert.
if we were playing hockey, you could.
Yeah, no.
Because that is probably one of the only places where I'm allowed to smack my neighbor because of anything. I could wash my dirty laundry playing hockey on my skates and get away with it most of the time. It's allowed, and it's might be frowned upon. You might get a slap on the wrist, but where else can you beat the crap out of somebody? Pardon my French, but beat the crap out of somebody and get away with it. Like that is the sport. That's what's expected from a boxer. Listen, if we're at the grocery store and you get the last chicken on special, I'm not allowed belting you because man, I had my eyes on that chicken.
I'd ask you for your connaissance on the sauce that goes on the poutine, Mark, if I see you in a grocery store.
There. So to bring this around a little bit, Mark, do you think that fighting contributes to team identity in a positive way or a negative way? And emotional regulation, or like, does it risk masking deeper issues within coaching, within the culture of hockey, and the overall? I mean, it's a competitive game, and there's pressure due to competitiveness, right? So how do you think it's contributing positively to the identity of a team?
Again, depending on what level we're talking about. In professional sports, if we're talking professional level, listen, you have that same aggression, you have that same competitiveness in volleyball, in rugby, in baseball. You rarely see a fight in any professional sport except hockey. So when it comes down to it, I think it is part of hockey's DNA. I think it's been burnt into its identity, and it's going to be hard to get rid of. Does it contribute negatively? Everybody's doing it, so why would it? Why would it?
I'm going to etiquette. I have to. We're here for this. So Mark, I'm coming after you again. Out of politeness, the etiquette is, and you say that because look at baseball. The minute somebody crosses the line and did something they shouldn't have, which is hit the guy at the plate in the elbow, in the arm, he's got a brace, whatever it is, he's throwing the ball at him. He's provoking him. If there's provocation, here we go. In French and English, I'm losing my words here.
Okay.
But yeah, at the end of the day, if the etiquette is broken, I think that there's a certain level of respect that has to be regained. That's my point on all of this. That's the stand I'll remain on. But I'm completely in agreement with him when it comes to a discipline. And to your question, if you don't mind me adding in, I think that it shouldn't be the identity of the team. But when it comes to the lower end sports, if we go back to senior hockey, which is right here in our backyard, we're talking about New Bean Cafe, whatever is involved, then well, you talk about your Luke Roys or your Jonathan Doucets or the guys that come up that fight that are there that'll back up the team. But those are the guys that bring the people in the ring. You remove those guys senior, but then back to professional. Do you need that? People are watching the game, they're watching the score. When I go watch an NHL game live, if I'm paying for a ticket like anybody else, I don't think I'm worried about the fighting. I want the goals. I want the assists. I want to see the highlights.
You want the fancy dance with the puck around the defenders and put it.
I don't need the celebration, but I want the dangles.
Yeah.
I want to see put the puck where mama keeps the peanut butter. You know what I mean? As the old expression goes. But I think we all look for that. The fight, I mean, we all get into it because there's entertainment at the basis of it. And I think we're distracted as human beings by entertainment in general. So everybody's going to like it. But I agree with Mark. Can it be dwindled out? I don't know. I don't think so. But I agree that to a certain extent, emotions have to be controlled. When you get hot tempered, what can you do? That's where things get out of control.
So, Andrews, do you think moving forward do you believe the sport will ever fully move away from fighting, or is this so deeply tied into the culture of hockey, the mythology of hockey, and the sense of self that this is something that's going to stay in regardless?
Based on being a guy that grew up in a hockey family, I don't think I'll be here to see it when it's removed. Is my hope. Because I think if you do that, then you're changing the league as a whole. So is fighting in hockey an identity? In my opinion, yes. But I'm biased here, to be fair. I grew up on skates. I grew up in a hockey family.
Mark, how about you? Do you think you could see a day when fighting is taken out of hockey?
I'd love to see a clean game. I enjoy seeing games without fighting just as much as, and I go to the Marauders games. I hardly have missed a game in the last 2 years. It's great hockey. It's a great league. When a couple of fights are thrown in there, it adds a little entertainment. When they get through those fights even before a game, it's even better. A lot of times they do that during warm-ups, but the fans are expecting it. That's what boggles my mind. Like I hear about people, because I've only been here in Dalhousie back where I grew up for 5 years now, and I hear about the games back in the day where there were, I don't know, 30 minutes of penalties or 40 minutes of penalties during a game.
Add some on.
The fans, they still talk about those good old days where I think the level of hockey that I see, the passion of the players on the ice for hockey, not the fights, for hockey, it's unbelievable. It's crazy. Like I enjoy watching a senior league game than going to see the Montreal Canadiens.
Fair enough.
The passion is there.
Yeah.
The passion is there.
I agree with that one.
So, is there room for fighting? Is fight? Your question was fighting ever going to disappear? I don't think so. But I enjoy a game without fighting just as much as I do with fighting.
Yeah. I enjoy watching the World Juniors. That's a cool age to watch hockey. They're so close, they can smell the pro league.
Mhm.
They're trying hard to get noticed because they know the scouts are all over the place. The hockey is intense. It's high quality. Yeah, I'm just thinking of that, just coming off, of course, the holidays when we're recording this and watching Canada take the bronze again this year. So That's probably my favorite arena for hockey. Guys, I want to bring this to a close. I want to thank you very much, Anders Fries, for contributing and giving us a framework for how maybe fighting still has a place to play in the game. Do you have any closing thoughts on that?
I can't, because then I'll ramble on. I'll get impulsive and we might be here for another hour and a half. I know how I am. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I like I said, and I reiterate, I think that if you remove it, it's opening the door for stuff that shouldn't be allowed or shouldn't be happening in the game from a respect standpoint and keeping the ethics of the game behind it. So
Mark, how about you? Do you want to add anything in closing just from this? What are your biggest fears with fighting staying in the game long term?
Well, for me, it's a trickle effect down to minor hockey, where I'm seeing more and more fights in minor hockey. I don't recall. I played up to, I think, bantam in hockey, and I don't recall fighting. I don't recall there being fights. And I played here. I played for Charlotte.
yeah, when the rink was there, yeah,
The rink was there. Mm, I do not recall fighting or getting into fights. It's later on where today we're seeing more and more violent fights in minor hockey, which I disapprove of. If they want to fight, there are places and times for that.
I agree. I think you go further than that, though. It might be beyond the ice when it comes to that. With the kids, the tempers, and the ways the day to day is being lived. We're not going to jump into that because then, like I told you, we have
It's a whole other podcast, right?
yeah, exactly. Come on up with Kurt. We'll be back for something else.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Mark Boulay, Anders Fries, it's been great to have this conversation with you. And really, the conversation goes on. This is something that I know will be talked about for years to come. Just with the increase of the speed, the fine tuning of equipment, more and more people are getting hurt. As we close off here, is there anything that you're currently working on that maybe you'd like listeners to know about? Mark, go ahead.
Hey, every Friday night or every time we can get a gym here in Dalhousie, we're holding open gyms for adolescents, grade 8 to grade 12 at the Au 80 gym from 6 to 9. So just open volleyball and maybe someday other sports. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. Just trying to get kids off their phones and into gyms and having fun. Without fighting.
There it is.
Yeah, pretty good.
And will you be doing any beach volleyball tournaments? I know you coordinated those this last summer.
Yep. Beach volleyball is going to start up after our long winters, but
Once the ice melts?
as soon as the ice melts, I'm actually trying to get a group together to do a first annual snow volleyball tournament.
Oh,
So put the skidoo suits on and the boots and play in the snow, just trying to find ways to, again, just get out and have fun.
so with the polar bear dip, you wouldn't recommend the same uniform?
No. Leave the sandals and bikinis at home.
That's right. Anders, for you, what do you got going on in your life right now? What are you working on?
Well, the polar bear dip had me intrigued there because I've done those quite a bit, and that's a wake up call for anybody who's never done cold dips. I think it's a whole nother level of things, and it brings the mindset different level as well. Right now, back to wellness. After 16 years in sales, I took a step aside and decided to go in the direction that my heart has, going into wellness. So there's a few things that are going on. Anything from personal training, if somebody needs to get back in shape, to doing conferences, talking about mindset, motivation, touching on traumas, triggers, and how we shift the mindset from all of that. And as well as working on retreats for any male that's between the ages of 19 right up to 64 and kind of putting the reset button on things that go back to working on the ego, the vulnerability, and everything that's along those lines. And then keep that all in the sports. Tie that in hand.
So where can people find you to follow your work?
So you can reach out to me at email, anders@breakingtheice.life. So that's ANDERS at breakingtheice.life. LIFE. That's not live. That's life. We are live, and that's life. And the phone number to reach me at is 506-838-LIFE. So that's 506-838-5433.
And Mark, how about you? If someone wants to enter a team into the beach volleyball tournament or learn about organizing community sports, how do they find you?
Look us up on Beach Volleyball Restigouche on Facebook.
Okay, perfect. Very good. Once again, thank you guys. Super appreciate the conversation and look forward to the next one.
Right on.
Thank you for joining the Irrational. There we go.
Yeah.
We'll have to see who got the gold medal though later. All right.
No competition here.
That's right. Thank you for joining Irrational, the inaugural podcast. Entering on next month, we're bringing together two people to talk about artificial intelligence. Should it be regulated or should it be left private? We got a couple of great guests coming on, a New York bestselling author and someone who has been involved in kind of informing or talking to Parliament in Canada here about governance, what that should look like, what it should include and what it shouldn't. I think you're going to be excited about that conversation. Once again, this episode was brought to you by New Being Nation, a monthly coffee box subscription that you can check out. Visit www.newbeingnation.ca. See you next time.